At the center of the chamber, the Zarlon ambassador stood calm. Vex was his name, and his blue scales gleamed under the lights. He showed no shame, no regret. The Zarlon Dominion regrets the loss of life, Vex said, his voice smooth. But we had intelligence that enemy commanders were hiding on that station. We acted in military necessity. Lies! Someone shouted. The footage shows no military targets, another voice called out. Vex spread his hands. War is complicated. Mistakes happen. Mistakes? The Drathian ambassador rose to his full height, towering over the others. You murdered healers. You destroyed a sanctuary. You killed patients from 24 species. And we will pay appropriate reparations, Vex said calmly. Credits, resources, whatever the Council deems fair. The chamber erupted in chaos. Species shouted over each other. Some demanded war. Others called for sanctions. A few remained silent, their eyes calculating. The Zarlon Dominion was powerful. Their military was vast. Starting a war with them would be costly. Through it all, one figure sat perfectly still. Robert Cross, humanity's ambassador, had not spoken since entering the chamber. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. For 7 hours he had listened to the arguments. He had watched species rage and posture and ultimately do nothing. Finally, the council speaker called for order. Ambassador Cross, she said, humanity has lost the most in this tragedy. What does Earth demand? The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to Robert. He stood slowly, his movements deliberate. He walked to the center of the floor. For a long moment, he simply looked at each ambassador in turn. Then he spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber. We demand nothing. Confusion rippled through the room. Humanity withdraws. From the Galactic Council, effective immediately, Robert continued. We withdraw our ambassadors from all worlds. We close our embassies. We recall our citizens. Ambassador Cross, the speaker began. We are done here, Robert said. He looked directly at Vex. The Zarlon ambassador smiled slightly as if he had won. Robert turned and walked toward the exit. Wait, the Krellian ambassador called. What about justice? What about the medical stations? Robert paused at the door. He did not turn around. All human medical stations across the galaxy will close within 48 hours. Every human doctor, every human nurse, every human medical worker will return to human space. We will treat our own from now on. You cannot, someone started. We can, Robert said. And we will. You wanted to know what humanity demands? We demand nothing. We expect nothing. We will have nothing more to do with you. He left. The door closed behind him with a soft sound that felt like thunder. The chamber exploded with noise. Species shouted questions that had no answers. They demanded explanations that would not come. But Robert Cross was already gone, his ship departing from Accord's promise. Across the galaxy, the withdrawal began. Human merchant ships turned toward home. Trade deals were canceled. Cultural exchanges ended. Every human working on alien worlds packed their belongings and left. They said nothing, offered no explanations, simply left. The medical stations went dark one by one. Doctors who had spent decades healing alien species evacuated their patients as best they could and departed. 43 sanctuaries of mercy closed their doors forever. Within a week, every human outside of Earth's territories had gone home. The galaxy expected rage, expected demands for war, expected humanity to cry for justice and pound the table and make threats. Instead, they got silence. Earth and its colonies stopped answering messages, stopped sending communications. The borders of human space closed. Ships that approached were turned back without explanation. For the first time in 200 years, humanity had nothing to say to the galaxy. And that silence was more terrifying than any threat could have been. The Zarlon celebrated their victory. Commander Drax received honors for his decisive action. The Dominion's expansion continued unchallenged. But in the darkness, humanity was remembering things it had tried very hard to forget. 6 months passed. The galaxy began to understand what it had lost. The Vothon and Krellian war continued, bloodier than ever. But now, wounded soldiers had nowhere neutral to go. Each side could only trust their own medical facilities. Prisoners died from lack of care. Soldiers with treatable wounds perished because neither side would risk sending them to enemy hospitals. The death toll doubled. Other conflicts across the galaxy faced the same problem. Small wars became slaughters. Species that had relied on human medical stations for generations now watched their people die from injuries that should not have been fatal. "We need them back," the Drathian ambassador said during an emergency council session. "We need the humans to return." "They will not answer our messages," the speaker replied. "Every attempt at communication is ignored." "Then we go to Earth itself," someone suggested. They tried. 3 diplomatic ships approached human space. All 3 were turned back at the border by silent patrol vessels. No words, no threats, just cold rejection. The Zarlon Dominion, meanwhile, grew bolder. With humanity withdrawn and other species distracted by their mounting casualties, Commander Drax led expansion fleets into disputed territories. Systems fell to Zarlon control. Resistance was crushed. "The humans are cowards," Drax declared publicly. "They ran away rather than face us. This proves that mercy is weakness." His words spread across Zarlon space. Soldiers celebrated. The Dominion's enemies despaired. But in the quiet offices of intelligence agencies across the galaxy, analysts were beginning to worry. "We have been reviewing human history," a Krellian intelligence officer reported to her superiors. "Before they joined the galactic community, before they became healers, they were something else." She displayed images on the screen. Ancient Earth, cities in ruins, mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes, battlefields covered with bodies. "The First World War," she said. 16 million dead. The Second World War, 70 million dead. Chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, biological weapons. They used them all. Her superior leaned forward. "This was centuries ago, before they discovered peace." "That is the point," the officer said. "They did not discover peace. They chose it. After nearly destroying themselves 3 times, they made a conscious decision to reject violence. They locked away their weapons. They focused on healing instead of hurting." "What are you saying?" "I am saying they remember how to hurt. They remember very well. They just decided not to anymore." She paused. "Until now." Similar conversations were happening in intelligence offices across the galaxy. Analysts dug through human history. They found records of conflicts so brutal that most species had never imagined such violence. Wars that consumed entire continents. Weapons designed not just to kill, but to make the killing itself a horror. And they found something else. Hidden in human space, quiet and dormant for 80 years, was a military force, the Terran Defense Forces, small compared to other galactic militaries. Humans had never needed a large fleet. They had focused on medicine, on trade, on diplomacy, but what they had was efficient. Monitors detected increased activity in human shipyards. Construction, movement, mobilization. "They are preparing for something," a Vothan analyst reported. "For what?" "I do not know. But whatever they are building, it is not medical stations." The Galactic Council tried again to establish contact. Again, silence. In Zarlon space, Drax received reports of the increased human activity. He laughed. "Let them build," he said. "Let them try. We have crushed species twice their size. If the humans want war, we will give them war." His advisors were not so confident. "Commander, perhaps we should consider a diplomatic approach. offer formal apologies, reparations. Never, Drax said. We showed strength. We took what we needed. That is how power works in this galaxy. The strong take, the weak cry. But the humans are weak, Drax finished. They chose healing over fighting. They chose mercy over strength. That choice defines them. They cannot simply become warriors again. It does not work that way. But Drax was wrong. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Lisa Kane stood on the bridge of the warship Remembrance. She was 50 years old, a career officer who had spent most of her service in peacetime. Around her, the crew worked in focused silence. "Fleet status?" she asked. "All ships ready, Admiral," her second officer reported. "We are waiting for your orders." Lisa looked out at the stars. She thought of Marcus Webb, of Amy Stone, of James Cole, of 847 souls who had died simply for trying to help. "Send the first strike coordinates to all vessels," she said quietly. No communication. "No warnings. We move in 6 hours." "Yes, Admiral." Lisa turned to face her crew. "They think they know us because we chose to heal. They think mercy makes us weak. Let us teach them the truth. Mercy is not weakness. Mercy is a choice, and we choose when to give it." The fleet prepared to move. Humanity was done being silent. The medical station Hope's Haven floated in the darkness like a star of its own making. Its white hull gleamed against the black void, marked with the universal symbol of healing, a green cross surrounded by a circle. Every species in the galaxy knew what it meant. Every soldier, every warrior, every being who had ever bled understood that this place was sacred. Dr. Marcus Webb walked through the main medical bay, his shoes making soft sounds on the clean floor. Around him, the station hummed with quiet activity. Nurses moved between beds. Machines beeped steadily. And in those beds lay soldiers who had been trying to kill each other just days before. "How is the Krellian doing?" Marcus asked, stopping beside a bed. Nurse Amy Stone looked up from her work. Her hands were steady as she checked the IV line running into the patient's arm. The Krellian was massive, his gray skin marked with deep wounds from plasma fire. His breathing was slow but stable. "He will live," Amy said. "The burns were severe, but we got him in time," Marcus nodded. 3 beds away, a Vothan soldier lay sleeping. The Vothan were enemies of the Krellians. Their war had been raging for 2 years now, consuming whole star systems in fire and death. But here, in this place, none of that mattered. Dr. Webb, a young nurse named Peter, approached, holding a data pad. "We have another transport coming in. 15 wounded. Mixed species. Prepare Bay 3, Marcus said. "Make sure we have enough blood substitutes for all of them." Peter hurried away. Marcus continued his rounds, moving from bed to bed. He had been running Hope's Haven for 7 years now. 7 years of treating the wounded from every corner of the galaxy. 7 years of watching enemies heal side by side. It was humanity's gift to the stars. When humans had first joined the galactic community 200 years ago, they had brought nothing special. No superweapons, no advanced shields, no faster-than-light drives that put other species to shame. What they brought was something simpler, something that had cost them centuries of their own blood to learn. They brought the idea that some places should be safe, that healing should have no sides, that mercy could exist even in war. The Galactic Accord had been signed 80 years ago. It declared medical stations neutral ground. It made them untouchable. No matter how fierce the war, no matter how bitter the hatred, these sanctuaries were sacred. To attack one was to violate the most fundamental law of civilized species. 43 medical stations now orbited neutral moons across the galaxy. Humanity ran them all. It was the role they had chosen, and they performed it with pride. "Marcus," a voice called. James Cole, the station administrator, walked toward him. James was older, his hair gray, his face lined with years of service. "The supply ship is here. Food, medicine, and the new medical scanners we requested." "Good," Marcus said. "We were running low on antibiotics for the Drathian species." James smiled. "We also got letters from home. Earth sent a new group of volunteers. 20 doctors, 30 nurses. They will arrive next month. Marcus felt warmth in his chest. Every year, more humans volunteered to serve in the medical stations. It was considered an honor. These were people who gave years of their lives to heal strangers from worlds they had never seen. The doors to the bay opened. Amy led a group of medical staff pushing gurneys. On them lay the wounded from the transport. Marcus counted them quickly. 3 Krellians, 4 Vothans, 5 Drathians, 2 Yalton, and 1 Zarlon. The Zarlon surprised him. The Dominion rarely sent their wounded to neutral stations. They had their own medical facilities and preferred to keep their soldiers under their control. But here one was, his blue-scaled skin torn and bloody. "Get him to surgery," Marcus ordered. "Amy, you are with me." They worked for hours. Marcus moved from patient to patient, his hands sure and steady. He cut away dead tissue. He sealed wounds. He set broken bones. Beside him, Amy worked just as hard. Around them, the medical team moved like a well-trained unit. By the time they finished, all 15 patients were stable. The Zarlon soldier was sleeping, his chest rising and falling with steady breaths. He would live. Marcus pulled off his gloves and threw them away. He was tired, but it was good tired. The kind that came from saving lives. "Another day," Amy said, standing beside him. "Another day," Marcus agreed. Outside the windows, stars glittered in the endless night, and Hope's Haven continued its quiet orbit, a sanctuary of mercy in a galaxy that so often forgot what mercy meant. They had no idea what was coming. The attack came without warning. Marcus was in his office, reviewing patient files when the first explosion shook the station. The lights flickered. His coffee cup fell from the desk and shattered on the floor. For a moment, he sat frozen, his mind refusing to accept what was happening. Then the alarms began to scream. He ran into the corridor. Medical staff rushed past him, their faces painted with confusion and fear. Another explosion rocked Hope's Haven. The floor tilted beneath his feet. Somewhere in the distance, he heard screaming. "What is happening?" Peter shouted, grabbing Marcus's arm. "I don't know," Marcus said. But even as he spoke, he knew. Deep in his gut, he knew. Someone was attacking the station. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. It violated every law, every treaty, every principle of civilized warfare. But it was happening. Marcus ran toward the main medical bay. The doors were jammed halfway open. He squeezed through and stopped dead. The bay was destroyed. Beds were overturned. Medical equipment sparked and smoked. The viewport on the far wall had cracked, and emergency shields had slammed down just in time to prevent decompression. And everywhere, there was blood. Patients who had survived wars were dying in their beds. The Krellian soldier Marcus had checked on that morning lay still, his eyes open and empty. 3 nurses were on the floor, not moving. "No," Marcus whispered. "No, no, no." Amy appeared beside him, her uniform covered in blood. "Marcus, we have to evacuate. The station is coming apart. The patients, we will take who we can." Her voice was hard, but her eyes were wet. "Move now!" They worked in chaos. Marcus and his team grabbed patients who could be moved. They pushed gurneys toward the escape pod bays. The station shook again and again. Fires burned in the corridors. The air filled with smoke. Marcus saw James near the escape pods helping load patients. The older man's face was set with determination. "Get them out," James ordered. "Get as many out as you can." An escape pod launched. Then another. Marcus felt a brief moment of hope. They could save some? Not all, but some. Then the attacking ships targeted the pods. Through a viewport, Marcus watched as a pod exploded in a ball of fire. Then another. And another. His legs went weak. They were being hunted. There would be no escape. "They are killing us," Amy said beside him. Her voice was hollow. "They are murdering us." A group of children huddled near the wall. Mixed species, young ones who had been caught in various wars and brought here for treatment. Their eyes were wide with terror. Amy moved toward them. "It's okay," she said softly. "It's going to be okay." She was lying. Marcus knew it. She knew it. But she gathered the children close anyway, putting her body between them and the danger. The next explosion tore through that section of the corridor. Marcus was thrown backward. His head cracked against the wall. When his vision cleared, he saw Amy on the floor, not moving. The children beside her were still. So still, Amy! He crawled toward her, but hands grabbed him from behind. "Doctor, we have to go!" Peter pulled him back. "We have to—" The young nurse's words ended in a scream as plasma fire cut through the station's hull. Peter fell. Marcus caught him, but there was too much blood. Too much damage. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. Peter's lips moved, but no sound came out. Then he was gone. Marcus stumbled through the dying station. Bodies everywhere. His colleagues. His patients. People he had saved. People who had trusted this place to be safe. He found James in the command center. The administrator was sending a message, his fingers flying over the console. "Broadcasting evidence," James said without looking up. "Ship signatures. Attack patterns. Everything. The galaxy will know who did this." Marcus looked at the screen. The attacking ships bore the markings of the Zarlon Dominion. Commander Drax's personal vessel led the assault. "Why?" Marcus asked. "Why would they— Does it matter?" James hit the final button. The message transmitted across every channel, every frequency. "It's done. The truth is out there now." The station shuddered. "Critical damage." Minutes left, maybe less. James stood and faced Marcus. "It was an honor serving with you, Dr. Webb." "The honor was mine," Marcus said. The final explosion consumed Hope's Haven. 847 souls died that day. 312 humans. 535 patients from 23 different species. The sanctuary of mercy burned. And across the galaxy, humanity received the news in silence. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. Every species with access to communication networks saw the footage. James Cole's final transmission had captured everything. The attack, the murder of patients in their beds, the destruction of escape pods, the deliberate annihilation of Hope's Haven. The Galactic Council convened within a day. Representatives from 40 species gathered in the Great Chamber on the neutral station Accord's promise. The room buzzed with angry voices. Translators worked overtime as species shouted in their native tongues. The Zarlon military station dominance floated in the Sector 9 system, a monument to the Dominion's power. It was massive, nearly as large as Hope's Haven had been. Thousands of soldiers trained there. Weapons were stored in its armories. Command centers coordinated Zarlon fleet movements across 3 sectors. On a normal day, it was untouchable. This was not a normal day. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. 15 ships. Not a large force by galactic standards, but each vessel was built with a purpose. No decoration. No wasted space. Pure function. Admiral Lisa Kane watched the tactical display from the Bridge of Remembrance. The Zarlon station hung in the center of the screen, unaware. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "Begin," Lisa ordered. The human ships moved with precision. They had studied Zarlon defensive patterns for 6 months. They knew every weapon placement, every shield frequency, every response protocol. Knowledge was its own weapon. The first Zarlon patrol detected them. Alarms screamed across dominance. Soldiers rushed to battle stations. Defensive weapons powered up. Too late. Human missiles struck the station's shield generators. The technology was different from anything the Zarlon had seen. The shields flickered and died. Follow-up strikes hit weapons arrays, communication towers, and engine clusters. Within 4 minutes, dominance was defenseless. Inside the station, Commander Vex, cousin to the ambassador, watched in horror as his command fell apart. Every system was failing. His ships could not launch. His weapons would not fire. "Send a distress signal," he ordered. "Communications are down, Commander. Then fight them. Board them when they—" He stopped. On the external cameras, he watched the human ships take up positions around the station. But they were not firing anymore. They simply waited. "What are they doing?" one officer whispered. Then the message came. It arrived on every screen, every terminal, every personal device in the station. Text only, simple words. "You have 5 minutes to evacuate. All personnel to escape pods. You will not be harmed. This is your only warning." Vex stared at the message. "It is a trick. Commander, we have no weapons. No shields. If they wanted to kill us, we would already be dead." Vex's jaw tightened. Pride warred with survival. "Survival 1! Evacuate!" he ordered. "All personnel to escape pods. Now!" The Zarlon soldiers fled their station. Escape pods launched by the dozens, by the hundreds. They waited for the human ships to open fire, to massacre them, as they had massacred the fleeing medical staff of Hope's Haven. The humans did not fire. Every pod was allowed to leave. Every single one. The human fleet tracked them, ensured they reached safe distance, and did nothing else. When the last pod cleared the station, the human ships opened fire again. Dominance broke apart. Explosions tore through empty corridors. The armories detonated, sending flames into the void. Within minutes, the mighty station was nothing but debris. But every soldier lived. In the escape pods, Zarlon personnel watched their station die. Confusion filled their faces. This was not war as they knew it. Enemies did not show mercy. Enemies did not evacuate targets before destroying them. Then the second message arrived. We are not like you. We remember what we fought to leave behind, but we also remember how to fight. This is justice for Hope's Haven. More will follow. The human fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving the Zarlon soldiers floating in space, alive and unharmed. Rescue ships arrived within hours. The soldiers were recovered. Commander Vex was immediately summoned to the Dominion capital to explain how he lost an entire military station without casualties. But the attack on Dominance was just the beginning. Over the next 3 weeks, 7 more Zarlon military installations fell to human strikes. The pattern was always the same. Precise attacks, disabled defenses, forced evacuations, destruction of empty facilities, 0 casualties. The galaxy watched in confusion. This was war, but not as anyone understood it. The humans were destroying military targets, yes, but they were taking extreme care to avoid killing. They are showing weakness, Drax insisted when he heard the reports. They do not have the stomach for real war, but his officers were not so sure. One installation after another fell. The humans struck with perfect timing, perfect intelligence, perfect execution. The Zarlan military was being systematically dismantled, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. And then came the mission to capture Drax himself. The strike team entered his command ship during a routine patrol. They disabled the crew with stunning weapons. They fought through his guards without killing a single one. They took Drax alive. He woke in a human medical facility, his wounds treated, his injuries healed. Why? He demanded when Admiral Lisa Kane visited his cell. Why not kill me? Lisa looked at him with cold eyes. Because we are not you.